Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 207 of Bill Man the Sport Guys podcast. I'm your host, Bill Man the Sports Guy. For the latest news of the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, and college sports, this is the podcast to be. So we do got ourselves some topics today. Plus, there's one NBA team and one NHL team that I really want to talk about. So let's not waste any time and let's get to it. Also, if you ever want to let me know your thoughts and opinions, you can always message me on Twitter at Billman Sports Guy. I know it's called X, but who cares? We're going to call it Twitter. Instagram at Billman Sports Guy. And here on YouTube at Billman Sports Guy. All right, let's go over some of the stuff first. First and foremost, two NHL coaches got hired. Rick Tocchet will now be the new head coach for the Philadelphia Flyers. And Adam Foote will be the new head coach for the Vancouver Canucks. It's going to be an interesting path on both teams. The Canucks were supposed to make the playoffs, but they didn't. The Philadelphia Flyers, we all knew they were going to take a step back, but we kind of had a feeling that Torts would probably be out the door. So we'll see how it pans out because we also need to go through the offseason and what moves the Canucks and Flyers make for their team. So I can't comment on it too much, but I think Foote and Tocchet will both give their teams a bit of boost this season. Next up, for Major League Baseball, Tony Kemp announced his retirement. He was a 9-year veteran, played for the Oakland Athletics. Well, they were called Oakland, even though currently they are called Sacramento. Houston Astros, Chicago Cubs, and the Baltimore Orioles. Wasn't a huge of a hitter, but good hitter, so congrats to Tony Kemp. Next up, Major League Baseball Hall of Fame reinstated, if I said it right, Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson. So, for a little context, Pete Rose batted games when he was a manager for the Cincinnati Reds. He was banned for life from baseball. Shoeless Joe Jackson, he was part of the Chicago White Sox. But back in 1919, they were called the Chicago Black Sox. 8 players gambled away the World Series. And Shoeless Joe Jackson was one of those 8 players. It's crazy. I'm kind of shocked that it took him that long to redo both of them. We'll see if they both get in. I don't know. I can't really comment on that. But then here comes my question with this. If Shoeless Joe Jackson and Pete Rose do end up getting the Hall of Fame, which obviously a lot of fans think, Pete Rose, I have a feeling they might get him in. We'll see. And we'll see about Shoeless Joe Jackson because he had a good hitting career before the scandal. But if they do get in, what about players that took steroids like Barry Bonds, Alex Rodriguez, Roger Clemens? Who's the other one I'm thinking of? Rafael Palmeiro, Jose Canseco. What about those guys? It's a tough call, but I really want to know your thoughts on this for baseball fans. All right. One little fact I want to give out. Which NBA player currently in this playoff format would you like to see win a championship? Mike Conley, who's played 18 seasons. James Johnson, 16 seasons. Rudy Gobert, who's been in the NBA for 12 years. Joe Ingles, 11 seasons. Julius Randle, 11 seasons. Miles Turner, 10 seasons. Cameron Payne, 10 seasons. TJ McConnell, 10 seasons. Delon White, 10 seasons. Karl Anthony Towns, 10 seasons. Let me know your thoughts on that. And then for the NHL, let me know you think who's going to win the series between the Dallas Stars, Edmonton Oilers, and the Carolina Hurricanes and the Florida Panthers. All right. Let's not waste any time on this episode because there are 2 teams I really want to talk about. Let's do the NBA. The Chicago Bulls. Obviously, they got screwed in the NBA draft. They're picking 12. But for the past 3 seasons, the Chicago Bulls have been in a bit of mediocre trouble. The past three seasons, they've made it to the play-in round. And who have they lost to? The Miami Heat. Honestly, I don't understand the direction of this Bulls team. In the offseason, we saw them trade DeMar DeRozan, Alex Caruso, and they let Andre Drummond walk to free agency. Then during the season, they trade Zach LaVine to the Sacramento Kings to be with his former teammate DeMar DeRozan. Bulls make the post. They made the play-in, but they lost again. I really want to ask Bulls fans this. We're all desperate to see a Bulls win a championship again. We all know they haven't won since 1998. And who was there? The best player in the NBA, Michael Jordan. They haven't had good teams since the 2010s with Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah, Carlos Boozer, Jimmy Butler, all young up and coming, Lil Deng, Taj Gibson, Nikola Mirotic, I'll even throw him in, Bobby Portis, Kirk Heinrich. I could go on. Let's not forget the 2016-17 season where they had Rajon Rondo and Dwayne Wade. Let's also not forget they had a young Cameron Payne before trading him and Larry Markkinen. Let him walk. I mean, we all know they drafted Denzel Valentine in the top, but he ended up being a bust. And then the crazy fact, they're the only NBA team with over 8 million specters in 3 consecutive decades, despite peaking in the Jordan era. They're first in viewership since the 2010 NBA season. In home attendance in the last 4 seasons, they're in the top 4. Yes, they got stars like Kobe White. Lonzo Ball came back. Still a good defender. Offensively, Nikola Vucevic, he's still going off. Ayo DeSumo, still one of the young guys. Matthias Berlus, I apologize if I say it wrong. He was a rookie this past season. They got Josh Giddey over the summer. I just don't understand the direction they're going. They're just flat out stuck in the middle. I like Billy Donovan, but he might have to go. AK's got to go. If we could actually have a new GM and coach that could at least bring us to the promised land, then bam. The problem is 21-22 season, we were actually really good. But Grayson Allen screwed our season over by injuring Alex Caruso. Lonzo Ball, who hadn't played since, I think it was January 17, 2022, if I got that date correct. Just, do your Bulls make up your mind? Are you going to rebuild? Or are you actually going to try contend? Make it like a quick retool, then contend? Because honestly, for the life of me as a Bulls fan, I just don't understand. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on that one. And then the last team I'm going to talk about in this episode, the Toronto Maple Leafs. So it's coming out later because I wanted to watch Game 7 because they were going to be in my topic, but I wanted to wait and see if they would have won Game 7. Well, classic Toronto Maple Leaf fashion, they didn't. They lost 6-1. Embarrassing home performance by the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm telling you, puck was bouncing. Toronto couldn't get anything going other than a goal by Max Domi. And Brad Marchand, Toronto Maple Leaf killer. Leafs should probably try signing him in free agency, but who knows? He's 5-0 in Game 7s against the Toronto Maple Leafs. So, is it time to say goodbye to their core four? John Tavares, William Nylander, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner. Marner and Tavares are free agents. Austin Matthews, I think he signed for another 4 years, if I'm not mistaken. I know Morgan Riley's still going to be around, and he's the longest tenured Leaf player. So let's go over their performances, right? William Nylander, 15 points in 13 games. Okay, he's done not bad. Mitch Marner, 13 points, only 2 goals, but 11 assists. Austin Matthews, 11 points, 8 assists, only 3 goals. John Tavares, 7 points in 13 games. Yikes. Morgan Riley, only 7 points in 13 games. Not good enough. Brendan Carlo did nothing in 13 games. David Kampf only suited in for a game. Holmberg, 1 assist. Kelly Yarncroke, 1 assist. Steven Lorenz, 2 assists. Scott Laughton barely existed. He only had 2 assists in 13 games. Bobby McMahon, 3 assists. Chris Tanev, a goal and assist. Jake McCabe, 4 assists. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, 4 points in 13 games. Okay, not bad. Max Domi, 7 points. Max Pacioretty, I meant to say, 8 points in 11 games. Okay, not bad. But goaltending, Stolarz, until the NHL gave Sam Bennett a get out of jail free card, had a 901 save percentage. Joseph Wall, 886. Okay, it wasn't his fault. He gave everything he got. Matt Murray, 857 in only one game. But specifically with the core four, 15 points for Nylander, 13 for Marner, 11 for Matthews, only 7 for Tavares. And Morgan Riley, their longest tenured player, I'm going to throw him in there. He had 7 points. If I were the Leafs, let Tavares walk, try to go for a young center. From what I was kind of hearing, it doesn't look like Marner's going to sign in Toronto. After being criticized, he sort of sounded like he doesn't have any interest in re-signing Toronto. So, you know what's going to concern me? If the Leafs don't do anything, all of a sudden Mitch Marner, let's say he signs with another team like, I don't know, Tampa Bay Lightning or Calgary Flames, Columbus Blue Jackets, Carolina Hurricanes, wins the Stanley Cup. Phil Kessel, one of the greatest players Toronto's ever had, won 2 cups after leaving Toronto. Dion Phaneuf almost went to the Stanley Cup Finals. Seriously, what does Toronto have to do? Or could it be Brendan Shanahan, who's one of the upper management people for Toronto? Does he have to go? Because whatever plan he has clearly doesn't work. And obviously, Marner's gone. Let Tavares walk. Morgan Riley might have to get traded at some point, although he's even been there with the really bad Toronto Maple Leaf teams. Austin Matthews, he only had 1 goal in the second round, keeps that pace up, boom, gone. I guess they could keep William Nylander because the past 4 playoffs, he's been the only core member that's shown up. So, Toronto Maple Leaf fans, I really want to hear your thoughts on what should the Leafs do, and do they need to let Brendan Shanahan walk? Let me know your thoughts and opinions. All right, that's all for today's episode. Thank you for tuning into episode number 207 of Bill Man the Sport Guys podcast. I'm your host, Bill Man the Sports Guy. For the latest news of the NFL, NBA, MLB, and NHL, this is the podcast to be, and also talk for college sports. Make sure you all stay tuned for episode number 208. Peace.